Hi guys, welcome back, UK here. Today doing a review of two particular books for the Deathwatch RPG line. First, Founding, which is a guide to the original chapters of the 40k universe, and Honour the Chapter, which is a guide to the successor chapters. I will start with First Founding as it came out first. This is an odd book, I find. Primarily it gives you rules for the four founding chapters aren't covered in the rulebook, which are the Iron Hands, the Raven Guards, Salamanders and White Scars. If you already know your 40k universe, you already know the background it gives you on these guys, you can just skip that, but it goes into all the things you need as before. The Primarch Curse, squad modes, solo mode, psychic powers and relevant chapter trappings. All very handy if you have players that want to play these particular chapters. The second chapter is called Chapters Due and gives you a number of new pasts and advanced specialities such as Librarian Dreadnought for Blood Angels, Sanguinary Priest, Raven Wing, Deathwing, Space Wolves get Wolf Scout and Wolf Priest, and Ultramarines, Tyrannic War Veterans and an Honour Guard. This is a really nice chapter. I like the Librarian Dreadnought. It follows the same rules as the Dreadnought in one of the prior books, whose name has now completely slipped from my mind as I'm doing this, but is also a very good addition as your options. The Raven Wing and Deathwing are really nice. The Raven Wing is a advanced speciality you can take at rank 1, which basically gives you a bike. You get one of the Space Marine bikes, which could be a really nice addition in an early scenario. It gives you that a little bit more oomph to get somewhere and a little bit extra toys to play with, and you can always take that. The Deathwing one, much later on, lets you have a suit of Terminator armour. You can choose which of either your power armour or Terminator armour to wear, and gives you the options for that. You then get a chapter on the Traitor Legions. So all the Chaos Marines, all those that turn traitor to the Emperor, and gives you a background again. If you already know your 40k universe, you're going to know this lore, but it also gives you an idea of how these particular chapters operate in the Jericho Reach. Some of them don't exist there, others are just small war bands that are part of other larger groups. Some of them are actually operating by themselves, and it gives you a handful of NPCs who are leaders of war bands or leaders of groups of Chaos Marines in the Jericho Reach. It gives you some nice background on them, their plans, and in the case of a couple, especially the Thousand Suns character, it gives you some really nice psychic powers that are available to those particular chapters. You then get War Gear, which gives you a host of new relics and pieces of war gear available to specific chapters and their successors. It then gives you a series of rules on followers, so you can have people that, you know, you can go in and you can take charge of an Imperial Guard company or something like that, or you can have people like servitors or acolytes or stuff that follow you and serve with you, that are under your command. I find that a little clunky. It doesn't quite fit with the Deathwatch in my mind, but if it's something you want to use and happy to use, and go for it. And finally, the book gives you both an idea of how the again, more information on how the chapters and Space Marines work with the Deathwatch, and then gives you a scenario entitled Traitor's Dawn. It's a hefty scenario. I found it very boring to read, and essentially it's there to set up otherwise it's quite a nice scenario. It sets up a conflict between Imperial forces, which the characters have to come in basically and force the issue to get the scenario done, and it gives you multiple options of how to do this, but it also uses a tension tracker, as it calls it, because if you start siding with one particular group, it's going to start screwing around how the other two operate, and they might start doing things, you know, because, you know, you're helping such and such, and we'll sod them, we'll do what we were going to do in the first place. You need to try and balance everybody and get the mission done. It's a nice idea. I just find it very clunky. I have never run the scenario. I'm not sure I would because of that particular reason, but you never know. And that's contents of First Founding. It's not a bad book. It's certainly one to have for the missing founding chapters. But I find a lot of the pages are taken up with background information that most of us, those of us who play Warhammer 40k, are already going to be aware of. I know that that's a must because not everybody's going to pick this game up is going to be a 40k fan necessarily. But it does mean there's an awful lot written in this book, and it's not a particularly thick book either. It comes out at, let me just double check, about 142 pages, something like that. There's a lot of background stuff throughout this that we're already going to be aware of, and it feels like a little bit of a waste if you know what you're talking about. But can't grumble. Which brings us, let me put that down and pick up, on the chapter. Now, I'll go through this. What this particular book does is focuses on the successor chapters. Again, you're looking at about 142 pages. Majority of it covers these chapters. You get more information on the Black Templars and the Storm Wardens. You get the Blood Ravens from the Dawn of War computer games. You get the Red Scorpions, which is the Forge World's own chapter from the Imperial Armour books. The Marines Errant, Flesh Tearers. You get updated Crimson Fists, Howling Griffins, Nova Marines, Raptors, and Kakaridans, who used to be the Space Sharks until Forge World tweaked them. You then get what it calls the Legacy of Glory, which is a host of other successors. There are 3 from the Blood Angels, you've got 3 from Dark Angels. You then get a nice big list of things like chapters such as the Silver Skulls, the Doom Eagles, the Astral Claws, because you have to remember that the default setting for Deathwatch is actually prior, I think just prior to the Badab uprising. Don't quote me on that. I don't know the exact dates in the 41st Millennium, but it gives you the rules for those before they become the name slipped my head now. No, it's gone. It will come back to me in a minute. And oddly, no, I'm trying to think there, it's gone a minute. And oddly, it gives you rules for Legion of the Damned, including a set of rules for playing them, which I think is just really bizarre, because these are the sort of characters and individuals, mysterious entities that really should just be NPCs controlled by the GM who turn up as and when they are needed or plotted in the scenario. But hey, it's there if you want to use it, or even if you just want to use those rules to create an NPC. It then gives you a reliquarium, giving you a host of new relics for all of these or majority of these chapters, and then gives you a set of rules for things like opposing beliefs and dogma, rivalries between chapters, because obviously Dark Angels and Space Wolves don't get along, for example. And obviously you're going to have some differences because, you know, Dark Angel's a little bit sus. They might come up with something that they want to go off on their own, but it might not gel with how the Deathwatch or the rest of their kill team want to do things. And on that, it's quite nice. My only grumble with this particular book is that the majority of the successor chapters that they cover in here and update have already been covered in a prior book. Which I find a little bit irksome. I know this is a more recent updated book, but still, it just means that in this you are completely overhauling something that's only been out for just over a year or so. Well, a couple of years now, I guess. And it just kind of irks me and sits wrong, as it were. But otherwise, I think this is a really good book. If you want to expand the chapters you have available to your players, and you want some more information on how these sort of like chapters operate within the Jericho Reach, this is a good book. So that's my reviews of the first founding and Honor the Chapter. From here, I think the next books I'll be covering will be those that deal with the Jericho Reach itself. So until then, take care and good gaming.